you need to go to allstarlink.org and make sure that you have your node number. And you've got to come up here to portal. If you see server settings and node settings, they're here. And it's interesting that you ask, because we have a server settings section and a node settings section. Node settings are the actual node, but before you can have a node, you have to have a server. I'll extend one of my node numbers just so that you can actually see the process. So let's go to server settings, and we're going to add a new server. If you intend to build and operate an AllStar node, you should proceed with creating a server. However, if you intend to only use our portal services to access nodes from a desktop app or mobile device, then you do not need to create a server. Well, and that's fine and dandy, but we do need to create a server because we're building an actual node. So we're going to proceed with server setup, and we're going to give this one a server name as video example, just so we can tell it apart from the others. Server location, for the sakes of this video, we're going to put Henrietta, Oklahoma. And the name of the site, we'll call it Crusader Castle because that's where we're at. Any affiliation with your club? Well, we could put the WX5 OKM Skywarn Association. And for the IA export, the default is 4569, but since I already have a functioning node on my home network, we're going to change this to 4566. 4566. If you only have one node on your network, then you can leave this at the default. But I don't want to mess anything up for this video, so we're going to change just that. Okay, Latin long for your location. I like to go to the Google search box here and type in Henrietta, Oklahoma. Boom, you can narrow it down to the exact spot if you wish. For this video, we're just going to hit submit. Oh, I'm sorry. Double click on the pin drop. It puts the lat-lon into the proper files. Then you hit submit, and your server has been created. Now, I'm going to go to portal, node settings, and we would need to create a new node. And normally, if I'd request a new node, it would be a 5-digit number, but AllStar can now allow you to extend your initial node. And when I had this 57633, I decided just to extend upon it. I get it a lot quicker. You can do it up to 10 times, I believe, or 9. 10, counting the 0. So yeah, the first extension was 0. I had to reconfigure a few things. It wasn't hard to do at all. And I've extended 2 since then. But now we're going to extend 576332 into 576333. And it's like, hey, you want to extend this node with a 3? Oh yeah, that's what we want to do. Boom. Add NNX 576333, press submit to add your node number to the list, and that's what we're going to do. And boom, our 576333 is created, and if I hover over this spot here, I will get the password, which I'm not going to show you. This will be blotted out in the video, but that's where there's a password there that we're going to need here in just a few moments. Now that we've got all this, we can come back here to PuTTY, and it says, is this a private node? Well, this is not going to be a private node. This is a public node because we want to connect to others on the network, and we want them to be able to connect to us. So we're going to hit no and hit enter. Enter the station call for this code, and for this one we're going to put Kilo Delta 5 Foxtrot Mike Uniform. You put your node, you put your call sign number here, not mine. All right, report status. Basically, this is the area that all your stats, your connection stats, report to AllStar. You want this to happen. because you're going to want to look through the website of AllStars occasionally to see if your node's connected right, and you can check your bubble chart from there, and we'll get to that here in a little while, maybe a next video, but you do want to hit yes here. Now, this is a decision you need to make and think long and hard about. Asterisk can use either voice or CWID for FCC identification. For those of you that don't know, CWID is the Morse code ID. If you select Voice ID, a simple GSM Voice ID audio file will be generated. This file is located at the // local location and is called node_id.gsm. If you select yes to Voice ID, then a Voice ID will be created. If you select no, then the default CWID will be used. For the purposes of this video, we're going to do CWID. Personal preference of mine, when I selected Voice ID, it drove me nuts after a while. I just wanted to hear the CWID, and that was fine. So, do you want to use Voice ID? We're going to choose no. And we're going to enter that bind port, and we changed our from default to the 4566. Don't use the keypad, use the numbers at the top of the keyboard. Hit OK. We want to leave this at the default setting of semi-half duplex, telemetry and courtesy tones transmit. Now, that node password that we've seen here under portal, node settings, 57633, and you float here and you see a password, you can select it, copy it, go back to your SSH session. As soon as I can find it. Oh, Fred. There we are. And right click. Or not. That doesn't work there, so I guess we're just going to have to type it in. You don't get to see mine. And once you have it in there, you hit OK. Asterisk AllStar has the capability to receive connections from Windows computer using a program called IAXRPT. That's actually a nifty little thing we might get into later. So I always configure a password for this now and make it something easy for you to remember. I'm going to make it the same as our root password just for the sakes of this video. Hit OK. Now you will need to review and configure the simpleusb.conf file. We're going to hit no at this point because we need our radio connected to the node before we start configuring the simple USB settings, and we don't have that done yet, but we just want to get this SSH stuff out of the way, so we're going to hit no at this juncture. Now, when running this script live to change things, most things other than Voice ID do not change without a restart, or you could do reloads of all the files. Do you want to restart? Do you want to restart asterisk to enable these selections? We're going to hit yes here. It just restarts the asterisk server, and it should take us back to the main menu, and it does. There we are. Now, the second thing that I like to do at this point is to come right down here and change the time zone. It's defaulted at New York, which is an hour ahead of us, so I want to change it. I don't want that. Do you want to change your default time zone? I hit yes, and I let it populate the list, and then I start scrolling down till I get to America, Chicago, which is -500 for me during this time of year. So instead of hitting OK here, I'm going to hit spacebar. That selects America, Chicago, and I'm going to hit OK. And then it's going to say, hey, this is what you're changing it to. Is that what you want? And I'm going to hit yes. Now, one more thing. You can configure your Raspberry Pi to be wired Ethernet or Wi-Fi interface. I prefer wired because it's more stable and it's faster and there's less glitches. Wi-Fi works, Just seems to be a little flaky sometimes. I'm not sure if it's me or my network, whatever the case may be. I'm going to hit wired. And this is where I like to make things static instead of dynamic. By default, it's set dynamic to grab an IP address, and that can change from time to time, so I always want to know what it is. Now, if you know your home router very well, you can leave this at dynamic and go into your router settings and make that dynamic IP address to never change. A lot of folks don't know how to do this, so I just go ahead and make mine static. So we want to hit yes to change it. Do you want to change the static? S for static or D for DHCP. We're going to hit static, and then we're going to put in an IP address that we want. Use the numbers at the top of the keyboard. We're going to change this one to 205. I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to type in our network mask, which most of them are 255.255.255.0. Now, if yours is different, you will know it. If you've bought a consumer grade router off the shelf at Walmart or Kmart or Circuit City, or that one's gone, isn't it? Best Buy, something like that that's consumer grade, most generally they're that subnet mask. If you're a network person and you've done something a little more elaborate, then you will know what this is. So mine is this. So I hit OK. Now my gateway is a lot of y'all's will be the same. 192.168.1.1. If yours is different, you will know it. If you're a network person, just refer to your router. Your home router will tell you what your local area network or LAN gateway is. Hit OK. Now you get to review all the settings you just made. I like to take my camera on my phone and just snap a picture of that. That way I've got it all. So I'm going to hit yes to accept that configuration. It's going to save it and write it all to the config files. Everybody's happy, and I'm going to reboot the system, because that just kind of sets everything into motion and makes everything reset nicely with the world and the universe. Now that our node has had a chance to reboot, we're going to put in our new IP address. Put in the port, and we can change our appearance yet again if you want to. Back to session here, and you can give this session a name. And save it. That way it shows up in this list, so the next time that you reload, you can just open PuTTY again. You can double click training. Now we've put that new IP address in. That means we've got to accept a new key, but we'll only have to do this once. So hit accept, and boom. Root. PASSWORD 2023. That's capitalized. Hit enter. That's the password we made up for the sakes of this video. And there's our menu back again. We made it a little bit bigger so it's easier to see. So we got our IP address right, obviously. You can go to 9, start a bash shell if you want, and yep, you've got access to your AllStar node. You hit exit here. We'll do some other stuff here later, but we're just covering how to SSH into that initial setup. Well, and see our menu. There's some other things that we can do, but we're not going to do for the sakes of this video. But if you ever just want to shut down your AllStar node safely, where it saves its settings and shuts down, you can come down to number 16, hit perform system power down, hit a shutdown, and your node will safely shut down and power off. Well, technically our Raspberry Pis don't power off until you pull the power plug, or sometimes some of those power plugs will have an inline switch. I love those. We're going to pull the power. and reboot. Because I want to show you other methods to SSH into your AllStar node. The other option here is WinSCP. You have to install this from a website. It's not that hard to do, but you can find it. I'll try to put the download links into the description of this video for both PuTTY and WinSCP and FileZilla. FileZilla is pretty nifty as well. So let's open WinSCP and bring it up here. Now this pane over here is your local computer. This pane over here, it'll be the device that you're going to SSH into. So let's make a new session. And this is for SFTP, which should be the same thing as an SSH if I'm not mistaken. That's the protocol we're going to use. Yes. That's the one for my other node. So we'll create a new site and call it 192.168.1.205 on port 222, and that username is root, and that password is that password we made at the beginning, capital P lower a s s w o r d 2023. So we're going to save it, and where it says site name, I'm going to change that to training, just so we'll know what it is. I am going to save the password for the sakes of this video and create a desktop shortcut. Hit OK, and let's just log in. We've got to accept a key here as well for the first time, so we're going to hit yes, and boom, you'll see the root directory. Now I like to come over here and change this to a location that I know where I want to be, like documents. There may be some files over here. But I also like to create a new directory and call it the node number 576333. Yes, 576333. That way any files I bring back and forth to my AllStar node, I'll know right where they're at because that's its node number. Okay, double click that root directory, and there's your root list of folders for your AllStar node. I like to go to Etsy, asterisk, and a lot of my RPT. These are very vital files that are in here that we will end up together editing later on. Let's say rpt.conf, right click, hit edit, and there it is, and we can make some quick changes to it right here, all of which we will get to all in good time. We don't want to mess with anything just right now, but this is how you get into that node. Okay, we're going to come up here to session and then hit disconnect session so that we know we are safely outside of the AllStar node, and we can close the program. Now there's another program that I like to use as well because I use it to transfer all my website files, is FileZilla FTP client. This is technically and first and foremost an FTP client, but it also will work as a WinSCP type client as well. So it's wanting me to upgrade to a newer version. I'll do that later. But you can come up here and go to the site manager. I've already got one site built for my home AllStar, and let's create a new one. And we're going to change this file transfer, this protocol from file transfer protocol to SSH file transfer protocol. The host will be the IP address. The port, of course, will be 222. Our login type will be normal, but I'm going to change it to ask for password. No, I'm sorry. Leave it at normal. That way we can put root here and our password here, capital password 2023, and hit OK. Now this will go away, but if you hit this right here, you can open the site manager icon. There's our new site. So let's rename it. I like to call them again 576333. The node number. That way I know where I'm headed. I can hit connect from here, and I'm already in. Didn't have to accept that key for some reason. I wonder why that is. Nonetheless, double click this top folder, and there's your list of important folders that we're going to want to get into. Like I said, I like Etsy and Asterisk, and you can look down here to see the list of the files in there. Yep, there's rpt.conf again. You can right click on it, hit view edit, and it downloaded it for some reason. Right click. Reopen the local file, or you can discard the local file, because when I did that it downloaded it right to my computer, and I didn't expect that. But let's reopen that. No, let's discard that, and we'll discard the local file and download a new one from the AllStar node. Oh, I know why it didn't do it, or it actually did, but it put it on this other screen. Goodness. Let me right click on that again, view edit, and it's asking me here to choose a program to edit that conf file. I always choose Notepad, that's what we want. So let's bring this up here where I want it. Change this back here so that you can see it better. And there's all the stuff for that rpt.conf. Nonetheless, we will get to that later. I just want you to know that you can edit these files once you're in there. Now, this redX will disconnect you from the node, and then you can double check your site manager, make sure it's still there, and it is, so we can close the program safely. Sometimes you'll get asked this, you'll always want to hit yes. Just make sure the file you edited gets uploaded back to the node and everything's happy. So, PuTTY, WinSCP, FileZilla. Those are three good ones for a Windows machine. They say PuTTY works on a Mac. I haven't used it with a Mac. I don't know why. Seems like I might have tried. I'm not sure, but I found a little program on Mac for SSH, and I'll put it in the description. It works quite well, actually. I do Windows and Apple Mac. My MacBook Pro, I work on them both quite a lot, doing different things for my line of work. But now you know how to download your AllStar image from HamVoip. You know how to put it onto your SD card, your micro SD card, no larger than a 32 gig, please. I've gotten a 64 gig to work on a Pi 4, but it's not designed to, or Pi 3. And if it decides it doesn't like what it's seeing, your whole thing's going to go to mushmash, and you don't want that. Now, the second thing I would do, once we get the AllStar set up and we get our basic setup done with our radio, it's connected in the whole 9 yards, we will make an image of that SD card, a second image from the SD card to a second one, put it in a nice little case and hide it away somewhere, because the day's going to come when you're going to get a power surge, or you're going to goof up and hit the wrong button. Something will happen, and you'll corrupt that install of your AllStar node, and you have to start again. Wouldn't you like to start from a much better place? You may not have all your extras installed, but if you've got your simple USB done and your node setup finished, the rest of it's gravy. Nonetheless, that's something we'll cover as we get on in the video. This is video 1. Many more to come. AllStar's a wonderful thing, and knowing how to put your own home node together, knowing how to configure HamVoip AllStar, doing all the feature add-ons, this knowledge is power. Hams like to do their own thing. No, I mean, we like to do things as a group in the idea of amateur radio. But having the ability to do it yourself and show others is what ham radio is all about. Like I said, I am way behind the curve. But I've learned a lot of this, and with the help of others, other hams, and plenty of YouTube videos, thank you, I made something of it, and I hope to help you make something of it yours as well in AllStar. So, Nonetheless, this is Freddie Mac, K85 FMU, your ham radio crusader. Hoping all the good signals to be yours. See you in the next video. 73s, and ham on, y'all.